Must have been a fake baby bump, visually collapsed as she sat down. I admit, that did look weird, but maybe it was a weird camera angle, or maybe she wears extra padding to keep her due date a secret. And yes, maybe Beyoncé isn't actually pregnant.
What if the most polished love story in pop culture has a missing page? Tonight we dive into the theory the internet will not let die, the whispers linking Beyoncé, Jay-Z, and the late Cathy White, and the viral speculation that Blue Ivy's origin is tangled in something far darker than a simple hospital birth. Fans point to timelines, lyrics, interviews, and a notorious bump moment as puzzle pieces, while defenders say it's all conspiracy. We're opening the vault, laying out the rumors, and asking the questions others won't on camera. Before we get messy, tap like, hit subscribe, and drop your thoughts below because your comment might be the twist that changes everything.
Get pregnant. Beyoncé couldn't get pregnant naturally. What I do know is this. Beyoncé got on that stage with that fake baby bump. It was lined up with the same timing of where Cathy White would have been in her second trimester. The timeline of when she delivered Blue Ivy lines up almost perfect with the timeline of when Cathy White would have delivered. We all know that Blue Ivy came from a surrogate. They shut that hospital down like a president had just been. And parents who had just had children themselves weren't even allowed to see their own kids for 24 hours because of the security that was locking that whole thing down.
$1.3 million is alleged that Beyoncé and Jay-Z, the Carters, paid this hospital to have the right.
Ready? Let's go! The story begins where every myth builds momentum, suspicion mixed with timing. The internet remembers the 28th of August, 2011, where the VMAs turned into a global baby reveal. Not long after, January 2012 brought the announcement of Blue Ivy's birth in New York. That's the official narrative. But rumor blogs and forum sleuths began tracing another line on the calendar: Cathy White model, PR insider, and the woman the internet has labeled an alleged mistress, whose sudden passing would collide with the last weeks before Beyoncé's delivery. Coincidence to some, a breadcrumb trail to others.
Beyoncé couldn't get pregnant. Not naturally, not normally. What I do know is this. Beyoncé got on that stage with that fake baby bump.
Oh yeah.
It was lined up with the same timing of where Cathy White would have been in her second trimester. And when we all watched her get on TV with that fake pregnancy belly that folded over,
Yep.
she sat down. The timeline of when she delivered Blue Ivy lines up almost perfect with the timeline of when Cathy White would have delivered.
Wow.
We all know that Blue Ivy came from a surrogate.
And that's the fuel two timelines that appear to brush past each other like strangers on a crowded Manhattan sidewalk, never touching, but close enough to make the hair on your neck stand up. There's a reason the timeline theory just won't go away. Fan investigators chart the dates like they're tracking a comet, a spectacular announcement, a tightly controlled birth, and the tragic death of a woman who, according to online chatter, was allegedly pregnant at the time. Theories take off when logic can't close every gap, and this story has gaps big enough for an arena tour. People point to the synchronized beats, a headline-making reveal, a deluxe hospital setup, and a sudden obituary. Others insist this all happens in celebrity life: big news, big security, big misunderstandings. But sleuths ask, why did so many ordinary parents describe the hospital that weekend as a maze of velvet ropes and security checkpoints? They talk about elevators you couldn't touch.
Okay, am I the only person that keeps hearing about this Cathy White, Blue Ivy, Beyoncé situation and has more questions? Like, question number one, none of Cathy White's family knew that she was pregnant. Two, none of the doctors, not even the morgue that she was brought into, did like a cavity search to see, even when they find out people are pregnant when they're murdered. It's like, oh, it's murder times two because the person you killed was pregnant. But you would have seen that there was a removal of a body, delivery of a baby. None of her friends, no one questioned.
And corridors you couldn't cross. Then comes the million-dollar number, rumored, debated, never verified, attached to the idea of a shut-down floor. Was it extravagant privacy or strategic secrecy? Depending on which corner of the internet you live in, that number either proves the whole operation was over the top or proves absolutely nothing at all. Yet the rumor survives because it feels cinematic, and fans can't resist a movie where the door closes just as the truth tries to slip in. Then there's the clip 30 seconds branded into pop culture's memory, a dress, a seat, and a fold that sent the internet into DEFCON 1. Depending on who you ask, it's proof of a prosthetic bump, or simply a fabric moment caught at a strange angle. The frame-by-frame analysis lives on YouTube forever. Pauses, zooms, red circles, arrows, and captions like, "Watch closely." To believers, this is the smoking gun. To others, it's the definition of confirmation bias. But here's why the video matters. It became the gateway drug. Millions who never cared about backstage security or medical charts suddenly took a side. It united stan armies and conspiracy channels in one rare moment of agreement. This story hits different. It's not about hating an artist, it's about the thrill of the unsolved. For every debunk post, there's a reply thread with 10 new angles, padding theories, wardrobe hacks, even allegations of decoy bellies used to trick paparazzi. Fashion experts argue about boning, ruching, and how certain fabrics behave. OB-GYNs shake their heads at the science. The clip doesn't prove anything, but it proves one thing for sure. Audiences will treat grainy studio footage with the seriousness of a courtroom exhibit if the stakes feel mythic enough. Enter the name that turns this whisper network into a saga: Cathy White. To mainstream audiences, she's a footnote. To internet detectives, she's the key. The portrait painted online is of a young woman moving between PR, modeling, and nightlife, a face you'd spot in candid rooftop photos before influencers were a job. Then came a sudden death that shook her circle, followed by years of message board lore. Some claim she had a story to tell, others say the story was already told and quietly buried. What keeps her legend alive isn't a signed affidavit, it's the human instinct to finish a sentence cut off mid-word. The image is haunting, a phone that never lights up again, a plan that never makes it to air, a rumor that outlives everyone who started it. In the mess of speculation, one question repeats like a hook. Did Cathy's timeline intersect with a powerful brand at the worst possible moment? Or did the internet take a young woman's tragic passing and fold it into a blockbuster narrative because tragedy alone didn't feel big enough? In a world where clout is currency, Cathy's silence became priceless, worth more, to some, than any headline she could have written herself. The lyric theory is where pop artistry and true crime energy collide. When Beyoncé released music with darker edges, fans began combing lines like detectives with UV flashlights. A single word "daughter" turns from a title into a thesis. Theories argue some lyrics read like a confession in metaphor, the way noir films confess through shadows. Others insist the singer is playing a character, as artists do, forging a mood that isn't a diary entry but a cinematic vignette. Still, a handful of lines ricochet through TikTok stitched over crime scene aesthetics and bathroom tile imagery, blurring art and accusation. Every syllable becomes a breadcrumb, every ad-lib a clue, every harmony a hush. That's the emotional genius and the danger of pop storytelling. If you write a line vivid enough, the internet will swear it's evidence. If you act it perfectly, someone will insist it wasn't acting. The myth machine loves music because a song is both a mirror and a mask. Fans can see what they want and swear it's right there in the glass. The debate is existential. Do lyrics reveal or do they perform? And in a case like this, is the performance the reveal fans have been waiting for, or a masterclass in how to feed the rumor mill without ever touching it? Now add combustible fuel, viral interviews, comedians turned cultural whistleblowers, and a social media ecosystem that can spin innuendo into trending truth by lunchtime. A name gets dropped on a podcast, a half sentence gets clipped for a reel. Suddenly the masses are stitching, "I can't believe he finally said it," over a 3-second eyebrow raise. The Katt Williams adjacent content only intensifies it commentary that tiptoes along the line between stand-up heat and "did he just confirm?" insinuation. In the rumor economy, precision doesn't matter as much as momentum, and every cryptic aside becomes a receipt. Meanwhile, skeptics push back hard. Where's the document, the corroboration, the paper trail? And that's the tug-of-war, clout versus proof. Entertainment thrives on suggestion. Legal systems demand evidence. In the middle stands the audience, simultaneously jury and fan club. refreshing timelines the way generations before refreshed court dockets. What used to be smoke signals are now autoplay videos, and if you watch enough of them, the smoke looks like fire. The algorithm doesn't care whether it's steam from a tea kettle or smoke from a blaze, it only cares that it keeps rising. The hospital chapter reads like a thriller because hospitals contain two things the internet can't resist: restricted doors and celebrity panic. Parents who said they were turned back by security. Elevators behaving like VIP lounges. Staffers whispering about VIP suites. Then, the number 7 figures attached to whispers about special access and sealed-off floors. Supporters shrug. If you were one of the most famous couples in the world, you'd pay to protect your newborn too. Critics counter, protection or production? Without verifiable ledgers, the fight devolves into vibes. Here's the thing: security optics can make the innocent look suspicious. Velvet ropes, tinted glass, and no entry signage transform routine privacy into a narrative device. One proud father, kept from his own nursery, becomes the protagonist in a story he never auditioned for. No matter how many official statements insist things were normal, that image of a new parent watching a closed door sears itself into public memory. Celebrity births are supposed to be candlelight and lullabies. Add a security team and earpieces, and you've cast an entirely different genre. Whether that genre is reality or perception is the detail that keeps theories breathing 10 years later. Then there's the counter-narrative, equally loud if you know where to listen. Medical professionals rolling their eyes at bump-fold breakdowns, fashion stylists explaining fabric architecture, journalists reminding everyone that songs, especially in visual albums, are curated storytelling. Characters can do monstrous things without the artist endorsing the act. Even some former skeptics admit that what felt like a gotcha clip looks like camera quirks in full context. And the look-alike argument crowds the timeline. Photos side by side where genetics look obvious, captions screaming, "She looks like both her parents." Case closed. The debunkers aren't trying to kill the fun, some are just trying to save the line between theater and testimony. They ask the questions conspiracy rarely answers. Who gains from this narrative? Why would people with resources risk a trail longer than a stadium tour? Why have lawsuits swatted down the most extreme claims as totally false? In a culture starving for certainty, the counter-narrative reminds us that not every dramatic beat is a revelation. Sometimes it's just a great performance doing what great performances do, making fiction feel like your own memory. And still, the story evolves. Energized by a modern chorus, TikTok edits, Twitter threads, late-night lives, and YouTube docs with cinematic titles. A journalist's tweet becomes a movement. A creator's deep dive amasses 1 million views before breakfast. Fame litigates itself in public now, with creators acting as detectives, judges, and publicists in the same breath. Fans escalate theories because escalation is engagement. Creators escalate because escalation is the algorithm's love language. If you want nuance, you'll find it buried under 10 layers of shocking and exposed. But that doesn't mean the crowd is mindless. Many viewers hold two ideas at once: that the official story could be true, and that something about the vibe still feels off. That duality is the new normal. It's why this tale doesn't fade with the news cycle. It lives as folklore, constantly remixed, patched with new clips, scored with ominous strings, and presented as the theory they don't want you to see. Whether they is publicists, networks, or just your own skepticism depends on which video you clicked last night at 2 a.m. So where do we land when the music fades and the feeds go quiet? On a cliff's edge, honestly. One side is a simple, human story, 2 megastars fiercely protecting a first child's arrival, leaning on privacy in a city that trades privacy for content. The other side is the internet's favorite genre, the immaculate conspiracy, perfectly cast, flawlessly timed, an anthology of coincidences that stack like platinum plaques. Maybe the lesson isn't to pick a side, it's to examine why we crave a darker version of the fairy tale in the first place. Is it because scandal feels truer than love, or because we've trained ourselves to trust only the stories that include a villain? If you've watched this far, you already know the ending is yours to write. Tell me what the lyric means to you. Tell me what the clip proves or doesn't. Tell me why the timeline chills you, or why it's just noise. Either way, the myth machine will keep humming, and we'll be right here, sifting the echo from the evidence, until the day the echo gets loud enough to answer back. Final thoughts, because you deserve the last word. If this entire theory is smoke, it's a masterclass in how smoke can mimic flame. A rumor with perfect pacing, a clip with viral stickiness, a lyric that refuses to sit still, a tragedy that wants closure. If there is more to the story, the more won't emerge from a YouTube comment. It'll arrive with dates, documents, and names that can stand up to cross-examination. Until then, protect your sanity. Remember that art is a hall of mirrors where reflections look like revelations. And understand the real-world stakes. Behind every rumor is a family. Behind every tragedy, a circle of friends who carry the quiet. We can explore myths without making monsters out of people we don't know. We can keep receipts without inventing them, and we can demand the truth without letting the algorithm turn our curiosity into cruelty. If you're still here, you're part of a rare audience, one that can handle the tea and the tension. Like, subscribe, comment your read on the timeline, and tell me what to unpack next. The lights are down, the rumor is out there, the stage is yours.